we're good to go.
Yeah, thank you. So we gathered you ladies together just to talk about the state of education in Southern Nevada. People have so many opinions about it, most of them negative. Who wants to start? Your opinion overall, negative or positive?
I'll start.
Okay.
I think that there are a lot of phenomenal teachers in Clark County, and I think that we tend to forget that sometimes, and we look at test scores at a whole versus looking at individual teachers who are doing a remarkable job and every day are in the trenches with our kids. So I am just really thankful for the teachers that I know personally and the teachers that my kids have had. And I think that's just a big part of the picture that we miss because we get so focused in on test scores. So my opinion is I think we need to take a little more closer look at the teachers and really invest in them and give them what they need. They know what they need. They're there every day with the kids, and then see what happens. And I know that when we do that, we are going to see things like our test scores improve. And there are obviously other things that are a part of that equation as well, but I think that that's probably the most important thing.
I love that. So we did an interview online, a survey with teachers recently, and teachers overwhelmingly said we need more money, we need smaller class sizes.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Yes.
Are teachers getting the support they need?
I don't think so. I'm not a teacher, but I am a stay-at-home mom that has friend teachers. And I know of one specifically that had 21 students at first, but by the end of the year had 27 all to herself. And I feel like there's just no way to truly invest in each child if you're that overwhelmed by children, you know, especially at a second grade level where they're 7 and they're still learning the basics like, you know, fluency in reading and stuff like that. So you cannot get the one-on-one time with 27 children and no aid. So that's another thing. If they could get some aides in class, I know that takes extra money, but you know, by the end of the year, you're just so exhausted, you know. She was just so tired and felt like she couldn't give the kids what she wanted to because she just didn't have the energy, and that's just so much to put on one person, you know, to like raise up 27 kids in a classroom, like, and not getting help from the parents at home a lot of times comes into this as a factor too. And I guess our job as parents definitely is to be involved with our children, and that will also help to project and help move our kids forward in school, you know. So I think that's a lot on us as parents to get involved with our kids and be helpful to the teachers in every way we can, and that is to do after school work and to be fully involved in all of that. So
you hit on a really important note, because in our teacher survey they said parents aren't involved enough. And Kristen, you are one of those super moms who's really involved. You and I became friends because both of our kids are in a magnet program in CCSD. But you researched it, you did your homework, you went to open houses. How important do you think that parent component is?
I definitely think the parent component is huge. I feel like it makes an amazing difference. Through 12 years of elementary school, with my 2 kids, I was involved in the PTA. I was on board member positions on the PTA, and it was really very depressing to find the few amount of parents that would be involved in the PTA activities. People were very quick to complain if you weren't doing something or something wasn't right or you weren't doing enough of something, but they weren't very quick to come to the meetings. They didn't volunteer for the events. So I do feel like parent involvement is very important. And I love that when I walk down the halls of the school that kids would say, "Oh, hi Noah's mom, hi Adriana's mom." So I do feel like that is a very important thing. But it does bum me out that the Nevada schools get a bad rap, because I have been very happy with the Clark County schools. I mean, I have a daughter that's 20, went through kindergarten through 12th grade. It was amazing. She had awesome teachers. We had awesome administrators at our schools. My son is going to be a freshman in high school this year. And like, Magnet Middle School was awesome. We had great administration and teachers at our elementary school. So I feel like being involved was a big part of it, but we've also had amazing staff and teachers for us also.
I love that. Do you think that your experience, though, is atypical? We hear so much negative about the Clark County School District, and you are so positive about it. It makes me wonder, is your experience typical?
I mean, it's the only experience that I know, but I think that I think it really depends on the parent and the kid. I do feel like, you know, I realize that there's parents that work full time and can't necessarily be at the school as much. I mean, I'm lucky to have had the flexibility that I've had in my job, and, you know, with my husband's job and stuff, that I've been able to spend the time that I've been able to spend. But there's a lot of other things that you can do too. You know, you talked about spending time with the kids on their homework and making sure, you know, the Parent Link, or what's it called now, Campus Portal. I mean, I check Campus Portal all the time. I mean, that's available to every single parent. I follow all my kids' stuff. If something is not turned in, or something, a poor grade on something, I want to know why. And I feel like that's available to everybody. So you have to really put the time and effort into it too. So I feel like it can be more typical for more people if they're willing to invest in their kids.
What are we doing well? I love that Maylene said we have amazing teachers. There are so many great teachers, and every parent can relate to that. If your kid gets in a good classroom with a good teacher, it rocks your world.
So true.
What else? What are we doing well in Southern Nevada?
I personally have also had a great experience in public school too. So I know we have charter and magnet and charter and public. So we kind of have everything here. But from the public perspective, we are military, and we came into town a little nervous because you're, like you said, the bad rap for schools. And now I have 2 children going into school at 3rd grade and kindergarten. And at first when we got here, I'm like, oh, we'll just have to see, you know, how this goes and how much outside of school I'm going to have to teach and all that stuff. But our personal experience at our school has been stellar. I've been so shocked, so shocked at how they push the kids. Like, they're doing things that are higher than what I thought they would be doing at that age and level. And like I said, I just have one just now entering the testing age, so that'll be a little different maybe this year. But up till now, I've been like really impressed with the teachers, the quality of teachers. They're always on top of the kids, like in a positive way, and they just really push them to do things that I just never had dreamed that she would be doing at this point. So I've been impressed. The PTA is really involved at our school. They do fundraisers all year round to help with extracurriculars, get kids involved outside of school too, and just to promote like a teamwork kind of atmosphere for the kids at school too, which is great because they get to have fun outside of class. They also are learning or being physical and, you know, fun runs or whatever it is. Like, they're just really good at what they do, and I've been impressed. So
neat. Okay, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, our kids are here with us. So, Mom, you want to let them in? The kiddos are hot outside, so we're just going to take a little Facebook commercial break while we let our kids in the air conditioning. They're darn cute kids too, by the way. Can I just say, my friends have really such cute kids. You guys want to give a wave to everyone on Facebook who's watching? Thank you, thank you. All right, we'll get back to your regularly scheduled program now. I wanted to ask Maylene, because you taught in CCSD for how many years? Were you a middle school teacher?
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah, and 1 year in California.
Okay, so in your experience, did you have the support you needed to succeed in the classroom?
In my experience, I had a lot of support, but it also depends on your specific administrator on campus.
Okay.
So I was blessed with one administrator in particular who I thought was just awesome. And if I needed something, I could go to him and I could ask him. And he was definitely there to listen and to help me where he could and to point me in the right direction if I needed it. If I had a concern, he was totally approachable, where I was able to present that concern to him and we would talk through it. So I think a lot of it really depends on who the principal is at the school and how supportive they're going to be of their teachers. Are the teachers number one, or is the principal's number one his or her boss? And that makes a big difference, I think.
Okay, let's talk about budget. Money! We are one of the most underfunded school districts in the entire nation, and that affects everything, especially student-to-teacher ratio.
Right.
Thoughts?
We need more money.
We need more money.
Obviously, if a class is being stuffed with 27 kids, you know, they need a little extra wiggle room with money to hire more staff, at least aides, whatever it takes to just even those numbers out. The ratio is just kind of really, it's just out of control. So a lot of other states don't allow that. I mean, it's just not even allowed, you know, and I feel like it just needs to be cut off. I mean, it needs to be fixed, whatever it takes. I mean, I don't know where the funding's coming from, but
and unfortunately,
it needs to be addressed.
I think that, well, I don't think I know because I experienced it. In middle school, that ratio only gets worse.
Right.
So it is not uncommon in middle school to have a teacher with 40 plus students per class period.
Wow.
So, and there comes a point where, of no fault of the teacher, there comes a point where it's crowd control versus let's really dig in and let me teach these kids. And so that's a major problem. I think one of the biggest problems that we have, especially in middle school, and I'm assuming it's the same in high school, although I haven't experienced that personally. I never taught high school, but the ratio, I think, gets worse as we go along. And I think that that's linked to the fact that if we look at our elementary scores, they're not so bad. I feel like elementary school in Nevada, you can go and be successful if we're looking at scores, but we see, once we look at middle school and high school, that's where our scores tend to decrease. And a large part of that, in my opinion, is we have teachers with 5 classes with 40 plus students each. So it's a near impossible task.
Yeah. One of the things that the Clark County School District specifically is doing well is that they're implementing magnet programs, magnet schools. That's a real area of success for CCSD. Their magnet programs are getting national attention, and that's where you funneled your kids, Kristen.
I'm a huge fan of the magnet schools. We went to regular public elementary schools, and my daughter went to a regular public middle school too. We didn't really know that much about the magnet program then because I'm from Oregon, we didn't have that up there. I'd never heard of it before, so we kind of started learning about that when my daughter was in middle school, but she didn't really have any interest in leaving her friends, so she just went to her zone school. When she got to high school though, she was interested in applying for magnet school, so she applied and she got into Southwest Career and Technical Academy, and that's where she graduated, and it was awesome. We loved it. The fact that all the kids that went to school there wanted to be there. There was actually, it was like almost a competition for good grades. I mean, the girl that was the valedictorian of her class had a 4.7 weighted GPA. My daughter had a 4.5, and she was just in the top 10% of her class. So it was unbelievable. It was amazing. I loved it. There was, zero drama there compared to what you hear about is happening at some of the other high schools, and I just loved it. And so when my son got to middle school, he was interested, after seeing his sister go through the magnet program in high school, he wanted to check out the magnet program too. So Kenny Gwynn Middle School is where he went to school, and it was a brand new magnet program when he started there as a 6th grader, but we went and we listened to the teachers talk about it, and the principal, she's awesome, talking about what they were going to do and all the different training that the staff was going to have for these magnet programs, and it was amazing. It was great. We loved it. Kenny Gwynn, those 3 years went by so fast, and I'm actually really sad about it because we just loved it there. So I feel like he's learned a lot, and it's really prepared him for high school. And
do the 3 of you think overall families have options, whether it's magnet? I have a lot of friends who are homeschooling now, which maybe means they don't have options. I know, Maylene, you chose charter school.
We did.
For your kids. Do you guys feel like there are options here?
I do. There are a number of charter schools, and so, excuse me, with the charter school, my experience has been it's a lottery. So we were blessed, and the first time we tried, we were accepted in. And what's really awesome about that is that my other children, excuse me, my other children will be able to also have priority registration. So now all of my kids are in the same charter school, and we love it. And there were a number of draws for us for that charter school. One is the parental involvement aspect that we were talking about, where we're actually required. Each family is required to put in 30 hours in the school. And so some of that you can purchase supplies for the teacher throughout the year, or you can actually come in and do work, or sometimes teachers will send work home for the parents. And I loved that requirement, so that parents are involved, directly involved in what's happening in their child's classroom. And another was just what they offer. So all my children at the school will learn how to play violin, and it's at no cost to me, and with an awesome teacher. Starting in kindergarten, they're learning Spanish. They're going on multiple field trips per year, which I think is also important. All of those things enrich their learning, and I think we get away from that sometimes, where it's, we need to look at the book, we need to study, but we forget about the enrichment in that process and how important it is. And so you can, every year, you can reapply for that lottery for charter schools. You can also, I don't think it's too difficult if you're zoned for a school, but you have done your homework and you feel like this other school is better. I don't think it's too difficult to be approved for a zone variance. So that's another option for parents as well, who maybe don't have the money for private school, which I think is awesome. That you aren't necessarily stuck with the school you're zoned for.
Right. What do you guys think we're doing well? We talked about magnets. You think what? We're hiring great teachers, perhaps, because that's been your experience.
Yes, for sure. The teachers have been stellar so far, which we've only had 3 here, but so far, besides that, what are we doing well?
What do people need to know? What do people watching this need to know? You're 3 highly educated parents who care a lot about your children's education. What do people need to know about education in Southern Nevada? What do lawmakers need to know?
I think parents need to know it starts with you at home. And so no matter where you live, it starts with you at home. And if they're not getting that parental support at home, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. I think that's just the bottom line. And teachers want to work with parents. And so I think the most important things are that parental involvement at home and hiring phenomenal teachers. And I think for the most part, CCSD does a wonderful job of that.
Okay. What do you think?
That's a hard one.
What do you think, Kristen?
I think that anywhere they can find money, funding is important too. I definitely think, the different things that you were talking about, the violin and the Spanish at young age at your charter school, obviously a lot of that stuff is not available at the public schools because the money is not there. So the other thing is, like, for the field trips, at our elementary school, the PTA helped out with a lot of that stuff. The money that we raised through fundraisers helped out the school with, our 4th graders went on a San Diego Zoo field trip, and the PTA helped out with that. And the teachers would ask us, or the principal would ask us for money, like to buy smart boards for classrooms and things like that. So the money that we raised provided activities for the kids, but it also provided stuff for classrooms too, and for teachers when they needed help. So, and that's great, but then as there's not always a lot of money there either. We were a Title I school, so parents didn't have a lot of extra money necessarily to give to the PTA.
Right.
So, however they can find money in the budget would be awesome.
Funding
too, just for more activities, more enrichment things that the kids can do, anything like that.
There has been some criticism about the charter schools pulling students, pulling funding. And so, full disclosure, I have a child in CCSD and I have a child in a charter school. We kind of split the difference. I feel like, well, if CCSD was doing what they should be doing, then I wouldn't have been looking for another option.
Right.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think a lot of parents feel like you need to provide a quality education, and if you can't, I'm going to find it.
Right. And that's another thing, like with the violin or, you know, extracurriculars outside of school. In the public school, you don't get that in class, you know, like the difference you were saying. But so we do that outside of school. We are going to, you know, we have to push them to excel outside too and grow and enrich their lives in that way outside of school. So I would absolutely love if public school could take on a deeper music or art, you know, program. They do get that, but it's so limited. I would say that was one negative, is that growing up we had PE every day. They don't have PE every day. They have 10 minutes of recess a day, which is not enough. And I know that the school day can only be so long, and with bus schedules and everything else, it's all, you know, kind of meticulously put together for a reason. There is a rhyme and reason to everything that the school district does. I realize that. But going back to old times, like I feel like that energy that we are constantly, you know, encouraging them to use in class needs to be let out outside too. I feel like the physical involvement is very important. And the social involvement. They don't get to hang out with other kids from their classes or the other classes very often. Like they might be in a split special with another class, and then they get, you know, 30 minutes maybe every 4 days with those kids, you know, and that's the only time they get to socialize outside of their classroom friends, which is just not how it was, you know, back when.
It's so interesting to me because we did a parent survey, and the overwhelming majority of our parents did think that the quality of teachers was good or very good. So you're right in line with that. Also, the majority of our parents did feel like their students were safe. Thoughts on safety?
Our very first week here, because like I said, we were military. We moved here right after spring break a couple of years ago, and my daughter was in their kindergarten. It was half day at that point, and she was in the afternoon. And I drove up to school one day, and it was just nothing was happening. They were on lockdown, and it was because there was a shooting a couple blocks away, and they had put everything on lockdown. I did not get notified, unfortunately, so here I am just trucking my kids to school, only to find out from another mom that had just walked out of the school what was going on. So yes, I did feel like if my child was in that school, she would have been perfectly safe. Like that is the most important thing to me, which, you know, it was just an awkward timing for all of that, but for that day, you cannot control where the crime is going to happen, especially in a city this big. It's going to happen, you know, anywhere, anytime, really. And so I feel like the protocol that they took was good and appropriate. And I feel like if my kid was there, I would have been like not so scared. You know, I mean, every mom fears that, but you get a little bit of a safety comfort, I guess, knowing that they have a protocol and they actually follow through with it. So.
Kristen, safe?
Yeah, and during the time that we were at our elementary school, they actually added like a special wall between the front doors of the school and the rest of the school. So when you walk in, you actually have to go through the office in order and then be buzzed in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that when we started there, but it was like that by the time we left there, like probably our last few years there. So I did like that. I mean, it breaks my heart every time I hear about a school shooting, and it's even harder to take my kid and drop them off at school that day. I mean, so. But we have had some lockdown scenarios. In fact, Kenny Gwynn had one last year, because there was something going on just in the neighborhood. And so it does make me feel good that they are, you know, make sure they're aware of that stuff that's going on, and they do keep the kids inside where they know that they're safe until they know that the situation has been cleared up, and then they're able to go. So,
at your charter school, Maylene, do you feel like the kids are safe?
I do. And one of the things I love is there have been a couple incidents since we've been there, nothing directly on campus, but I really appreciate the communication between the administration and the parents. So when I did have a concern, I was able to check my email, and there was an email from the principal. And so I think that's extremely important, that whenever something is happening where they have to be put on lockdown for whatever reason, communication between administrators and parents is vital.
I do think that CCSD could probably do a little bit better in their communication that way, because I mean, I'm on all the distributions. I get all the phone calls and the emails and the text messages and stuff like that, but when something like that has happened, I often don't, you hear about it kind of afterward.
Yes.
And so they should be better about communicating that to parents, because of course parents are gonna freak out
Right.
when they
Right.
find out something is going on and their kid is there. So it's just, it would be nice if they were better about communicating that at the time it's actually happening, so the parents can know that, okay,
All is
the
well.
situation is under control.
They probably think all the parents are going to drive down here at the end of the day if we let them know right now. I'm just looking over kind of our parent survey results, but really, boy, you ladies did an amazing job because everything that our survey showed you have all touched on. So I can't thank you enough. I just can't thank you enough for a great interview. So bravo, well done.
Thank you.
All right, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, these amazing, fabulous women, you won't be available to answer questions because this isn't going to be posted live, but feel free to leave your comments and chime in. We welcome that as well. And yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks.